Today, we're going to talk about one of the most powerful and influential figures in the world of combat sports, Dana White. Dana White's rise to prominence in the world of sports has been nothing short of remarkable. He has transformed the Ultimate Fighting Championship, UFC, from a fledgling organization struggling to gain a foothold in the sports world into a global powerhouse that has brought mixed martial arts, MMA, into the mainstream. Dana's story is one of perseverance, hard work, and vision. Dana White was born in Manchester, Connecticut, in 1969. He grew up in a working-class family and dropped out of college to pursue a career as a boxer. After a brief stint in the ring, he turned his attention to managing fighters. He discovered the sport of MMA in the early 1990s and became fascinated by it. He saw the potential of the sport and believed that it could become a mainstream phenomenon. In 2001, Dana White was approached by the owners of the UFC, which was struggling to gain a foothold in the sports world. They asked him to help turn the organization around and make it profitable. Dana saw an opportunity to fulfill his vision of making MMA a mainstream sport and took on the challenge. Dana White's first move was to convince the Fertitta brothers, who owned the UFC, to purchase the organization outright. He believed that this would give them more control over the direction of the company and allow them to make the necessary changes to turn it around. The Fertitta brothers agreed, and they purchased the UFC for $2 million. Dana White's next move was to revamp the UFC's image. At the time, MMA was considered by many to be a brutal, underground sport with no rules or regulations. Dana saw an opportunity to clean up the sport's image and make it more appealing to mainstream audiences. He implemented new rules and regulations, such as weight classes, time limits, and mandatory drug testing. He also began marketing the sport as a legitimate, athletic competition, rather than a barbaric spectacle. Dana's efforts paid off, and the UFC began to gain popularity. The organization's first major breakthrough came in 2005, when the reality show, The Ultimate Fighter, premiered on Spike TV. The show was a huge success and helped to introduce MMA to a broader audience. The show's finale featured a fight between Forrest Griffin and Stephan Bonnar, which is widely considered one of the greatest fights in MMA history. The fight was broadcast live on Spike TV and drew a record-breaking 5.3 million viewers. Since then, the UFC has continued to grow and evolve. Dana White has been at the forefront of the organization's growth, implementing new ideas and strategies to keep the UFC ahead of the competition. One of the key factors in the UFC's success has been its ability to innovate and adapt. Dana White has been willing to try new things and take risks, such as launching the first ever women's MMA division, which turned out to be a huge success. In addition to introducing new weight classes and rules, Dana has also been instrumental in bringing in top talent from around the world. The UFC has signed some of the biggest names in MMA, including Conor McGregor, Ronda Rousey, and Jon Jones. These fighters have helped to raise the profile of the sport and attract more mainstream attention. Despite the UFC's dominance, Dana White is aware that the sport is constantly evolving, and the competition is getting tougher. MMA promotions such as Bellator and ONE Championship are growing, and they are attracting top talent from around the world. To maintain its position as the leader in MMA, the UFC will need to continue to innovate and adapt. Another challenge facing the UFC is the continued growth of MMA in other parts of the world, particularly Asia. ONE Championship, based in Singapore, has been making waves in the MMA world and has been successful in attracting a large audience in Asia. To compete, the UFC has been actively trying to expand into the Asian market, hosting events in countries such as China, Japan, and Singapore. Dana White has recognized the potential of the Asian market and is investing heavily in it. In fact, the UFC recently signed a major broadcasting deal with a Chinese streaming platform, which is expected to significantly increase the UFC's reach in China. Dana White's success with the UFC has made him one of the most powerful and influential figures in the sports world. He is known for his outspoken personality and his willingness to take risks. He has been criticized for his brash demeanor and controversial comments, but he has also been praised for his passion and dedication to the sport. One of the most significant challenges that Dana White has faced during his tenure with the UFC has been the ongoing debate surrounding the safety of MMA. Critics argue that MMA is too violent and that it puts the athletes at risk of serious injury. Dana has addressed these concerns by implementing new safety regulations and working to educate the public about the sport. He has also been a strong advocate for the UFC's anti-doping program, which has helped to clean up the sport and promote fair competition. In addition to his work with the UFC, Dana White has also been involved in other ventures. He has produced several films and television shows, including the reality show Dana White, Looking for a Fight, and the boxing documentary, The 16th Round. He has also been involved in the world of professional boxing, promoting several high-profile fights. Dana White's success with the UFC has not gone unnoticed. He has received numerous awards and accolades for his contributions to the sport, including induction into the UFC Hall of Fame in 2020. He has also been named one of the most powerful people in sports by Forbes magazine. Despite his success, Dana White remains focused on the future. He is always looking for new ways to grow the UFC and to make MMA an even more popular sport. He has expressed a desire to see MMA become an Olympic sport, and he is working to make that a reality. In conclusion, Dana White's rise to prominence in the world of sports is a remarkable story of perseverance, hard work, and vision. He has transformed the UFC from a struggling organization into a global powerhouse that has brought MMA into the mainstream. His willingness to take risks and his dedication to the sport have made him one of the most influential figures in sports today. Dana White's impact on the world of MMA is undeniable, and his legacy will continue to shape the sport for years to come.